Man, oh man, we have really, and woman, oh woman, excuse me for living, and they, oh they. Hello, we have got an episode for you today. I mean, this is really, all right, enough with the cliche phrases. This is really an impactful episode, in my opinion. And it's something that I hope to do in the future as well. This is You've Got an Hour with Adam Griffin. I don't know where else you would think you were, but I have to introduce it. Today, we're having Stephanie Reibel back for a third part. This is history in the making. You're like, bitch, you've only had 6 episodes. Well, guess what? It's still history, okay? So respect your elders. Today, I'd like to introduce her as the Maude to my Harold, or the Harold to my Maude. Speaking of, today we're going to be viewing Harold and Maude. It's something that came up in a previous episode. But before we go there, and before we watch that film together and discuss it, because I think it's really in tune with what actually this episode's theme is. I try to think of themes when I do these. I don't always succeed at that, but today is very clearly in the lane of grief. So I want to put a disclaimer up here at the front end to just say, you know, we are going to be talking about some pretty heavy topics. I don't need to say like viewer discretion advised because you can't even view it. But I just want you to know. So we're going to continue right where we left off with her second episode. The 3 things you need to know in advance is we're going to talk about grief, suicide, and alcohol abuse. So if those are things you don't want to talk about or don't want to hear, I totally respect that. Skip the episode. I think it is something that we don't talk about enough in society. I'm adamant that we do discuss it on this podcast. It won't always be prevalent, but sometimes it will come up. And that's today. This is You've Got an Hour with Adam Griffin and Stephanie Reibel.
I'm baptized Catholic.
You were?
But
see, I grew up Methodist. We
I
didn't do that.
Yeah, but I didn't make. My dad was like, "You guys choose what you want to do." We didn't have to go to church. We didn't make our first communion.
Well, that sounds very Catholic.
But it was
because Catholics don't go to church; they go for like Easter.
Yeah, but sometimes, but they make the first communion. We never did. My dad was like,
"Oh, you didn't have to do that."
No. My dad was
wow.
like, "Listen, I'm baptizing you for grandma because that was what my grandma wanted." But he was like, "I'm not doing." They have the choice if they want to practice.
Oh, he's an icon.
Oh, he's great.
We love that.
I was so thankful to him for me to like explore, and then I went to different churches to see and study different religions and kind of just picked and chose. I can't talk.
I think that's right.
I know that's
but
right,
I didn't know that was a kid.
Choose.
You know, wasn't a kid, so don't listen to me about right verbiage.
But like I literally was like so thankful for him for that because I now it's like where I'm at in my life spiritually. I'm not religious, but
I'm very spiritual.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm all about, you know, the ancestors are around us and you've got a spirit guide and
the crystals, all of it.
The crystals, I like it. I think it could be a good tool, but I'm more into like you've got angels on your side and that stuff. I'm really into it. And like today when I'm bringing it back to myself, maybe she was right. But you know, after it transpired, I was like, you know what? Actually, I did the right thing. I had 2 signs from my ancestors. The word Phillips was on the ground, dedicated for a tree. Who looks at the ground to see a dedication for a tree?
Okay.
So I was like, that's my mother's name. Her maiden name is Phillips. Okay. And I was like, okay, that could be hit or miss. Then I had a yellow butterfly almost kill itself on my car. And that's my grandmother. She's always a yellow butterfly. And I was like, so I feel validated that I made the right decision. Watch them be like, no, get your roots, change lanes. Maybe that's what they meant. But I took it as validation.
There you go. Come on, it's your interpretation. But I believe in those signs.
Who do you feel like you have do you know who's on your team?
Yeah, I feel a lot actually. And I've had a couple experiences where I felt my grandparents from the other side. So I have 2 grandpas, 2 grandmas, my friend Kelly, my friend Mike. I feel like I've felt them all at different times in my life. And I feel like they're all on my side. Like that they protect me and help me. And it was funny. I had one experience years ago. My grandmother, my mom's mom, Grandma Jerry.
Love.
She was the nicest. When I say the nicest person I've ever met in my life, she is, hands down. Like there was nobody that nobody will grace this earth that has got a purer heart than my Grandma Jerry. And she passed away in my early 20s, and we grew up going, because all my family, we grew up in Chicago, suburbs of Chicago. We all lived within 20 minutes of each other. I had a massive family. It was like the best childhood ever. So grew up going to Grandma Jerry's, and we'd always go there pretty much every weekend. And in the summer, and she always had tons of food, tons of dessert. Every time we would go there, she would give us all $100 and tell us not to tell Grandpa.
This is like such an Italian story that you're telling me right now.
But we're not Italian.
You're not Italian at all.
Tons of food, and she'd give us literally $100 cash, and she was like, "Don't tell Grandpa."
Oh.
But every time. So, and we would go there almost every weekend. So anyway, just a great, amazing childhood. So whenever I would go to her house in the summer, she would always have fresh cut cucumbers. And you know that smell? It's like strong when you're next to it or like near it in the room. But like if you're not outside, you don't smell it.
Right.
It's just when you're up close to it.
And it's not an annoying smell.
No, it's phenomenal.
It's amazing.
So it always, my whole life reminded...
Not pickled cucumbers, like actual
just
cucumbers.
Actual cucumbers, fresh cut cucumbers.
From her garden?
She didn't have a garden. It was just she bought them.
Oh, okay,
So she
great.
always had cucumbers. So anyway, that smell makes me think of her and her house growing up. So one day I'm in my guest house, again in my 20s, and out of nowhere, I had the window open, but where I lived, there was a front house that was like not really close. There was a good amount of space of a yard in between ours. And then the houses to the side were pretty far away, right? So I didn't have anything up close to me. And I was in the bedroom at the time. I think I was reading a book. And all of a sudden, I got this smell of cucumbers in my house. Like, just came in. And I thought it was maybe it was just a whiff, like from the wind, and then it was going to go. It stayed in my guest house for 3 days. For 3 days, it smelled like cucumbers. I'm not kidding. And I didn't have cucumbers in the house. It wasn't any neighbor. It was, you understand, it's not like this potent smell. And I was like, I remember thinking, I think within that first day, I was like, "Oh, hi, Grandma." And I was talking to her, like I knew she was there. And it was such a great feeling. It was such a, like, I just felt protected, you know? So yes, I absolutely believe in that stuff. And
100%.
I feel them at different times, and my grandfathers, and you know, I've felt all that, so I feel protected in every way, which is so lovely.
Yeah, you have a strong roster around you. I felt that pretty
Yeah.
quickly when I met you.
That means a lot. That's like such a great compliment.
Yeah.
I mean that.
Yeah.
Our energy is...
Strong.
Are you tearing up?
A little bit, because it's
Why?
sweet. That's a sweet moment
It is
that
a
you
sweet
shared
moment.
with me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too.
Okay, I'm vulnerable with you.
See, I knew it. I knew
But
I was going
why-
to get it out.
But why is it? I mean, I always tell you I love you, but I guess it's like, I don't know. I mean, I think you see a certain side of me. I don't know if you see like, I don't know. I think when I tell you stories sometimes, like I might be like, "Oh, I'm fine, when I'm really like.
And I kind of
not
push.
okay.
I try not to push you, but I'm like, how are you actually feeling about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, which I think is good. I think
It is
that's what
good.
friends
I want
do.
you to. I want to know how you feel or think. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
As your
That's
friend.
what our friendships should do. But yeah, I mean, we get along for so many reasons. I
We
love
do.
you.
Do your people on like your grandparents? Do they ever come forward in any sort of animal? Do you feel that?
Oh, that's interesting. It's funny that you say that. Yes, my Grandma Jerry came through in a dog that I rescued, a senior dog. Her name was India. And it was funny. I absolutely felt it was my grandmother. And when my parents came to visit, my dad, when he met her, he goes, "Oh my God, that's Grandma Jerry," without even me saying anything.
Oh, that's so validating
And
too.
I was like, "Oh my God," like I was right. Like he said it. Like he didn't even, yeah. So I definitely, my grandmother has been around me since she passed. But then the rest of as they passed throughout the years, because she was the first to go, they've all been. And my friend Kelly that passed, and my friend Mike, like you just, yeah, I feel all of that for sure.
For sure. Do you
Yeah.
ever feel like when someone does pass, you're like, okay, of course I'm gonna miss them. I've gained someone on my spiritual roster, someone else in my corner, someone else
Yeah.
is gonna help me.
For sure. And
And
I
guide
had
me.
an interesting experience. So I think we all go through moments in our life when we look at death in a way that is
No wonder you like Harold and Maude.
it's
No, I
Why?
mean in a way because death. It's like
just part of life,
it's
right?
a part of life. It's not scary.
No. I think we all go through a point though in our lives where death is scary, right?
Yes.
There's that finality.
You have to kind of get through that
You
feeling.
have to get through that feeling, right? And that's where you kind of tap into whether it's, what you believe religiously or spiritually or what have you. But I remember the shift for me when I looked at death differently. So my grandfather, my mom's dad, Grandpa Roland, he passed away when I was in my late 20s. And my grandma Jerry, when she died in my early 20s, she was cremated. My Grandpa Roland had an open casket.
Oh, I hate those.
Yeah, it's always it's a little unnerving, right?
I just don't want to have that visual.
That you just don't want that to be the last thing that you see of them, right? Like that's how you remember them.
It
and I
helps
agree.
people in the family deal with it, though.
I go to my grandfather's funeral, and it's an open casket. I remember I was about to walk up there, and I was having like almost like a panic attack.
Oh, really?
And I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I could do this. And my dad saw me, and he was like...
And this is your first casket experience that's open, right?
No.
It wasn't?
My friend who tragically died in high school, it was open. So that was...
That sounds traumatizing,
Yeah,
though.
it was pretty traumatizing. But this was like family, right? My
this is
grandfather's...
someone you were close with for a really core long time.
Right. Like this was... So I remember having kind of a panic attack. And my dad saw me, and he's like, I'll walk up there with you, Steffi. Yes, my family and friends call me Steffi back in Chicago.
I think it's so cute.
It's so... I swear to God, if you ever called me Steffi, I'm going to...
I don't think I would.
No, please, God,
But
thank you.
if it slips out sometime, just say it's Jerry. Don't say it's me.
Steph is great. I love Steph, but like... And Stephanie, whatever, it's fine, but Steph is great. But Steffi, yeah, no. So anyway, my dad was like, Steffi, I'll go up there with you. And he's walking behind me, and it was very sweet that my dad was so supportive, and he could tell I was having a hard time. And I get up there, and I look down at my grandfather, and all of a sudden, I had this sense of like peace that just rushed through my body.
Good.
And I said to myself, oh, my grandpa's gone. Like the essence of him is gone. He's done with this vehicle, and he is moved on. And any kind of pain or sadness that I had or fear was completely gone, because I looked at it in a way that I didn't lose him. He is flying in wherever without being in this vehicle. He was done with the vehicle, and there was nothing wrong with it. It was like the next chapter for him, right? And so for me, it was like, it was truly the moment that I switched my thinking with death. And I was like, okay. And so when I have people that are close to me pass, I mourn the loss of their physical body, right?
Yes.
That I physically won't see them again, right? But I am so grateful for the moments that I had with them, that for me, that's what I focus on, right? Like, I'm like, oh my God, of course I'm going to miss whoever that I'm not going to see every day. Like, like my friend who passed away earlier this year, my friend Crash. And he was sick. He was sick for a long time, and he was sick he was an alcoholic, right? And I'd known him for over 20 years, and a dear friend, and really a good friend to me.
You were a really good friend to him, too.
Thank you. I mean, he would have done, if roles were reversed and that was me in that moment, he would have done it.
No, don't discredit that.
Well, thank you. But he had his demons, right?
He had a hard life, yeah.
Yeah, and so in the last year, when he retired, his alcoholism really just shot through the roof, right? So this past year, I took care of him. I made sure that I went to dinner and took him out to lunch, and he had food, and took him to the doctors, and like checked up on him every day, and whatever he needed, right? And I remember seeing him last year, and he looked like, I hate saying this because this is such a horrible visual for people, but it was so jarring for me. I remember he looked like a Holocaust survivor. So thin, so frail, not eating because he couldn't hold food down. And
he looked
just
emaciated and unwell.
Oh, just beyond. And in that moment, I said to him, listen, if you're willing to go to rehab, I will check you in. I will do all the work. Just like, if you will say yes, I will do all of it for you. And he said yes, and I did. And I put him in rehab, and I visited him, and I called every day, and then I took him to sober living. He stayed in sober living for a month. He did so well. I visited him there. He came out, and that night he drank. And I was pissed. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I thought you, like, were committed to this. He's like, well, no, I promised you. And he promised another friend. I said, but you're not doing this for me. You're doing this for you.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I realized, okay, you know what? There's only so much that I could do. And I
Totally
kind of washed my hands of it, though I was there for him. But as the year went on, he started to go back to what he was. And he was in his 60s. He was 60, so he wasn't a young spring chicken. He's been through it, and he had a stroke 10 years prior. So the guy was not doing great health-wise. So when we ended up losing him and I found him in his apartment, I had keys, in January of this year, I, of course, was devastated, right? And, you know, when I would talk to people about it, you know, they would say, oh, it was probably so hard. And yeah, of course it was. You never want to find a dead body in somebody that you love. But more importantly, like, I cried, I was sad, I had my moments, but over that last year, even though he was alive, I mourned for the loss of my friend. Like, the crush that I knew for 20 years was gone last year, like, even before he died. And I mourned him when he was alive, you know? But when he passed, I was, of course, sad, and I was going to miss him and all those things. Thank you. His stupid laugh that annoyed me, but I loved because it was so loud and, like,
Yeah.
it took up the room. But I felt like such a peace for him, right? Like, he didn't want to be here. He had expressed that for years, that he didn't want to live anymore. And I was happy for him in that way, right? Like, it gave him that peace, and that's what he wanted. And you can't
That's
be mad
very
at that.
selfless.
You can't be mad at that, you know? And the time that I had with him, I'll forever cherish and love, and I'll miss him forever, but I won't miss the last year of him. I'll miss the crush that I, you know, fell in love with as a friend. Of course I will. But with that being said, like, you know, death is different in many situations. And with this was a sense of peace in the way that, like, he didn't want to be here. Mm-hmm. So go be and find that happiness and leave this vessel that you had that you weren't happy with, you know? And that's all you want for the people that you love, is, like, you wish them well and you cherish the moments that you have with them, and that's what you remember, is those good times. So I'm so thankful for the time that I had with him, and that's what I focus on, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how I look at death now. It's very different than what I used to look at death growing up. So anyway, yay.
No, I'm glad that he had you, though. I mean,
Thanks, honey.
And I'm sorry that you had to mourn the loss of him before he even passed. That's really difficult.
Thank you. And it was hard. I think it was a bit better in some ways, right? Just because then, like, I had more time to grieve, I think.
You had more time to prepare yourself. You knew what was coming. You could see the storm before it
Oh,
arrived. But you're prepping for the storm for so long. I'm sure that being in that cycle was not easy.
It was not easy. No, it wasn't easy. But it's not easy for anybody. And anybody dealing with somebody who's an alcoholic or drug addict, and you watch them slowly kill themselves, right?
I know.
And there's nothing you can do. That's their choice.
They're choosing it, and you can't do the first thing about it, but that is difficult to watch.
Oh, it's so difficult to watch. And I don't wish that on anybody. And I don't wish it on people that are going through it.
No, I hate that you had to go through it and witness it.
Yeah. But it's a sickness, right, that they have. It's kind of beyond their real control. I can't understand it because I'm not addicted to anything. So for
Thank God.
Right?
You know,
like,
we have things that could be vices so quickly.
100%.
So quickly.
But, like, I don't know what that's like. So I can sympathize. I can't empathize because I don't know, right? Because part of me is like, just wake up, like, get out of this, step out of this, like, you know. But it's not like that, you know. And he lost his battle, and you know, everybody around him that loved him knew that he would go this way, and it's exactly how I thought he would go. And, you know, he went in his house, he went by himself, and he went peacefully, and it is what it is, you know? So, such is life.
I know. He had a lot of people in his corner, and I'm sure that he's there for you in moments. Have you felt him at all since he's passed?
Yeah, it's funny. A little bit. I felt a little bit, but I haven't, like, truly felt it, which is why I didn't include him in the initial, like,
I bet
feeling
now that
around.
you've said it,
He's
you're
gonna
gonna hear
appear.
it. I guarantee you then the
I
next
know.
week you're gonna hear the laugh or you're gonna feel his
I'm gonna
presence
feel
in some
something, or
way.
he's gonna show me that he's here. But yeah, I didn't include him in that because I was like, he hadn't appeared to me yet since he passed.
I'm gonna tell you
but-
something though. I'm really proud of you that you were honest with me about this because I knew that he passed, but you
Yeah.
hadn't really talked about it, and I
Yeah.
didn't ever want to push you to talk about something like that was somebody you really cared about, and you
Yeah.
lost him, and that is a huge grief. And you haven't talked about it at
Yeah.
all in our friendship, and I'm really that was brave of you to
Oh, thank you.
open up to me, and I'm glad that you did.
Thanks, baby. I appreciate you listening, and our listeners listening.
Oh, I can cut this. They don't have to listen to this.
No,
This
they can
doesn't have to be
listen.
part of it.
No, they can listen. I have no problem with that. But yeah, no, I mean, it's, again, I loved him dearly, and I'll never forget that. It just, now, he was not supposed to be here for the next
Yeah.
chapter. And that's it. And it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I love you.
I love you. Thanks for coming today. I didn't know that
Thank-
it always takes turns that we don't expect, but it's, you're supposed to talk about
Yeah.
in a safe space what's really going on or what
Yeah.
you've been through, and I thank you for being open and sharing.
Well, thank you for having me. As always, I have a blast. It was lovely, 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 my friend.
Love you, Steffi.
I love you.
I got her!
Damn it!
Doesn't that just tug at your heartstrings? She's such a good friend, and I really hope that anyone that is having some of the struggles that come with substance abuse, whether it be from alcohol or something else, you do have a support system and someone that is like a Stephanie in your wheelhouse and that's championing? That is a champion for you. Well, I just flubbed that 100%. I should do a second take, but I'm the editor and I don't have time to sift through this. So you're getting it unfiltered. Now, the story that we told is really sad and sorrowful. And I hope that that's not the fate for anyone that is going through a similar process. If you are suffering with addiction or someone that is, there are definitely resources available for you. First and foremost, get in contact with a good therapist. That's necessary. And at the end of the day, you can always dial 988. It's like 911, but actually helpful. It's the suicide hotline, and they do a lot of other things as well there. That's a great jumping point for you to find resources for either someone that that's going through a similar circumstance with abusing a substance, or if you are yourself. And that's a hard thing to go through. You're not alone. And I'm really sorry that you're experiencing that. Gosh, my voice is so monotone. I hope that you feel the authenticity of what I'm saying. Sending you love from across the pond. I'm not British, but there could be a pond. Anyway, moving on. We're going to pivot here. We're going to actually watch a movie that she and I have talked about previously called Harold and Maude. Now, spoiler alert, this is a great film, but we're going to discuss it, thoroughly. So if you've never seen the film before, I highly recommend you pause, unless you don't mind it being spoiled. I mean, it came out like 40 plus years ago. It's from the 80s. I don't want to ruin it for you, but hello, we're going to talk about it thoroughly. This is a segment I really want to repeat because I thoroughly enjoyed watching the film with a friend and discussing it after. There's such rich dialogue in watching film. That's one of the great aspects of it. So I hope that that's something that'll be reoccurring on the podcast. I don't know how interesting it is. So this is sort of like a beta baby test, but it's very much in theme with the episode, which is grief. So just disclaimer, there's going to be some spoilers. Now, we tried to talk while we were watching the actual film and it just didn't land. It was like, we need to stop and focus. This is not, Trixie and Katya watching something. They do that so wonderfully. I'm not them and I'm not trying to be. We're just going to have a dialogue after we've seen the film. Okay? Now, what is the film? This is a classic American film, probably one of like the 250 films that you're supposed to see or whatever. It's like in those AFI books, But this is specifically Stephanie's favorite film. It deals with somebody who is so sad and so distraught with the circumstances in their life, whatever they may be, that they don't have passion for living. They're younger, they're in their early 20s, and they felt like that, totally an outcast, which variations of this we can all relate to, right? But they find someone at a funeral of all places, and you have to laugh because it is a dark comedy. She's this 80-year-old woman, or soon-to-be 80-year-old woman, that he essentially falls in love with. It's like the romance of our age. I mean, you got to go watch it. Anyway, this is us talking about it. Enjoy it. But first, what a setup. First, a word from my mother.
Hi everyone, this is Linda LaFaye, and I've always got something to say. Today's topic is about respect for the grieving family at the funeral, from the service to the graveside. I do not know how it works where you are, but where I am from, we drive in a line with our lights on, following the hearse with our beloved, going through the stoplights because there are patrol cars helping out with our safety. And I'm going to tell you what's respectful, and frankly, it is expected from those that we encounter on this solemn journey. The vehicles we meet pull off the road and stop out of respect. Do not jump in our line. Do not cut in and then cut out. Do not ride on our bumper because you are irritated. A sweet and gentle old man used to say, he ain't never been teached. Is that you? Did you know that our disruption to your commute might present a fine time for you to count yourself very lucky, and might I even say blessed, to not be in this line that we are in, or in a long car at the front? Are you picking up what I am putting down? Your day is coming, sweetie. So I'm not really asking, I'm telling you to show some respect. You're welcome.
That was my mom, and here's my dad.
Pass.
We love the brevity, don't we? John is an icon. Okay, now we're going to get into it. This is after we've seen Harold and Maude, and we are just... She's a Pisces, I'm a Cancer, so the water signs are coming out of our tear ducts, all right?
I love that.
Oh, fucking sweating. Oh, my God. We finished Harold and Maude, or as I'd like to say, it wrecked me and ruined me.
I am so happy I got to watch it with you. And I know that we had it on and we were talking, but
I
like...
have to cover my face. I'm getting so emotional just thinking about it. It was so good.
I told you.
Oh, it was so beautiful. I loved it.
I love you so much. If you guys could see him, he's literally laughing and crying at the same time.
Because I'm so filled with joy for him that he's like had this journey, but also why did she die? I just, spoiler alert. Oh,
You are gonna be crying for the next like 3 days.
what did I think? What was I coming up with the plot beforehand? I was talking about like, and they kill people and like,
yes.
what did I watch? Like,
I don't know. I'm like, what are you talking about? They kill people.
Oh God. But like, if you had been in my brain, I'd been like, I was like, I'm right. I was so wrong. You were so. I'll never doubt you ever again. Not that I ever doubted you, but it was.
Honey, I'm so glad I could bring this.
I'm over the crying. It was so good. It was so good.
I told you, from like the writing, the directing, the acting, the cinematography, the soundtrack, like everything about it was perfection.
Yeah, I hope no one listens to what I was saying in the first take of this, because you have to watch the film. Like, there was a point when we were watching it where I was like, we have to actually stop recording, because we were trying to do, like, talk through it and, like, watch it and, like, talk during. But that's a movie you have to just enjoy.
Yeah, it's definitely, we can save that for another movie, but this is, like, there's just so much there that she says that's so poetic and beautiful about life, and... like, she is, I mean, she's my absolute favorite. Like, she is...
I can see why. There's a lot of wisdom she imparts in it that is so you-coded, to be honest. It really is. Because, like, you drop little nuggets. Like, you're not always serious by any means, but, like, you know, you'll be laughing about your day, and then you'll sprinkle this little thing in, and I'm like, was I in a TED Talk? I mean, but in like a really, in a like rewarding way, you know, like, well, I'm like, I really learned something. Thank you, Confucius. Like,
I will fucking take that.
You should. Oh my God.
Just like her act. I mean, everybody is just so You know what I do love about movies, and not all movies back then did that, but a lot more back then than they do these days, is they let the camera roll and the silence.
They took their time with it.
Yeah, and they let these actors breathe, and they let them come to life on camera. Like, so I went through when I was an actor back in my previous life.
You're still an actor.
Okay. Well, thank you, baby. But I went through this John Cassavetes like love where I watched all his movies, and I studied a lot of directors back then, from like Stanley Kubrick to Billy Wilder to
Oh, we love Stanley.
I mean, it was incredible. But I went on this Cassavetes kick, and you know, Nick Cassavetes did The Notebook. Yeah. Oh, you know that.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't know much, but that one I know.
you know, John Cassavetes, his dad, who was, funny enough, had a role in Rosemary's Baby. Did you ever see that movie?
Yes, I love.
Okay, so he was Mia Farrow's husband in the movie. And you know Ruth Gordon was in Rosemary's Baby.
I don't remember that at all.
She was the evil high priestess.
Oh, I have to rewatch.
That was her.
Oh my
That
god.
to go from
what a
Harold
range.
and Maude to this.
And pretty soon after,
yes,
it seems,
it
right?
was like around the same time.
That's crazy.
So watch Rosemary's Baby now, because she's so fucking
You know
creepy.
what? I bet when I watched it the first time, honestly, I kind of like, I don't want to say got her confused. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
I'm that dumb, but like I couldn't get
Sure.
past what I had seen in Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
From when I was younger, and now enough time's been removed, I didn't even remember she was in it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
She's so good.
So good. So Cassavetes. So he was like known for, none of his films were really like amazing, but he did a lot of movies with Jenna Rollins, you know, from The
Ooh.
Notebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why Nick cast her in that, because they were also together. And not Nick, John and Jenna.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, Women Under the Influence was a big one that Jenna starred in. But if you watch his films, a lot of it was like, I don't want to say crap, because that's not fair to say, but a lot of it was just like, existing, right? Like,
Yeah.
there wasn't anything really like exciting like we just watched.
There wasn't substance to it. It was just sort of like witnessing things.
But, and this is what he wanted for his films. He wanted the camera to roll and for actors to live on camera. And then there were moments that he captured that were like, holy fuck. Like, you're watching it and you're like, oh my God. Like, even for that one moment, he would shoot like 10 hours of film. And then these editors would have to sift through it.
Those poor editors,
And
but such good films.
Yes, and it was like, you were sitting here like, you're like, oh, I can kind of get into it. I mean, there were some. Women Under the Influence was a good film of his. Now every other film is escaping me from him, but I did watch all of his films. But it was like, it was so interesting to watch, because you kind of had to weed through a lot of it to get these like gems, but the gems were like on another level. Like, you were like, oh my fucking God, this is
Like a diamond in the rough.
Yeah. So as a filmmaker, like, you can appreciate those moments, but as like a whole, I would rather watch like a Hal Ashby film where it just gives you gold from beginning to end, you know?
I mean, everything about this is exactly what you were saying, though. They really took their time with the breadth of it and, like, really just let it exist. I
Yeah.
wish that we would take more time to just live in the moment.
Yeah.
It feels like everything is so Marvel in the sense that you have to have action, 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 but the action a lot of time is the emotion, or just even the breath between the emotion.
Yeah.
I mean, the framing in this alone on how they would come into the shot or exit a shot, it was like, this is a film.
Did you
I'm
understand?
getting emotional again.
I love you. You're gonna call me like at like 2 a.m.
No, I'm
or
gonna
send me a
scream.
text,
I'm gonna
and
be
you're
screaming.
Gonna be like,
I'm gonna be like, there was a quote that destroyed me in this, and we kind of glossed over it as we were watching it because I was like, don't get emotional. But she was like, my body's on earth, but my soul is in the heavens.
no, my eyes are my.
Of course,
head
I
is-
ruined it.
My body's in earth, and my head or my eyes are in the stars.
Yeah, my body is on earth, but take 3. Clap. Yeah, they have to keep rolling on us because they'll find it eventually. Sift through it, editor. It's me. Oh, well, it's staying in. Yeah, my body is on earth and my head is in the heavens.
Yes.
And that was just such a little, like, throwaway nugget she was saying, and it was just, it ruined me. It was like a philosophy book where you open up the course and you say, you know what, I'm not ready for Psych 101. I'll come back in 3 years, you know?
Right.
It was just so good.
But
what's your favorite quote from her in the film?
God, I don't know if I have a favorite quote. That was an amazing quote. I like when she says to him, when he's like, I love you, Maude, and she's like, I love you. That's wonderful. She's like, so go and love some more.
Oh.
And it was like, that
Oh
was
my
when she was dying.
gosh.
I was like, to be that selfless and to really just love somebody and let somebody go like that. But you know what? Like, what I find always so incredible, I mean, there were so many moments from The Color of Yellow for her, or just
Yeah, the color theory's strong in this movie.
Right, or just like all these little things that if people watch it, like you'll see throughout it. But what I loved is you took this woman who was pretty much done with life, right? Like we look at 80 years old and we're like, well, you're at the tail end of life. But she was literally like a 15th. She was like a child.
Yeah, she's so youthful. And I kept saying she's so much younger than him in this film.
And the love story that you think, oh, this 80-year-old and this 20-year-old, I mean, that's so gross. And it's really not. It's the most beautiful.
Yeah, I judged it so
I know, and everybody
senselessly.
does. When they hear about it, when they talk about it, but like, it's the most purest form of love. It's like real love. But my whole reasoning, what I love about this with these characters is you take this woman who's 80 years old who lives life that she's 15, and you find out like halfway through the film that she's a Holocaust survivor.
And they never address it.
No, they don't. They just show the numbers on her arm, right?
Which were replicated on a license plate.
Right.
And I lost it.
And you saw that, yeah.
I did. Well,
yeah,
toot my own horn.
Of course you did.
I didn't bring it up for that reason.
A brilliant writer.
But it's it's like everything is so thoughtful.
Yes, everything is so thought out. So you have this woman who's at that tail end of her life that still lives like she is like a young child waking up and in this excitement, and she has been through some shit, like some real fucking shit. Here he goes crying again. Oh my God,
I just can't imagine. I mean, her life from start to finish, and we watched the tail end of it. Her take on life is something that I would love to impart on my younger self.
But you're not too young.
No, you're not. You're never too young. But I'm saying I think that there's such an intelligence within this film that every young person should witness, because I think there's so many people out there who they don't live. And her whole point is like, you've got to go out there. You have to make mistakes. You have to fully live, because you're not living. You're just passing by through life.
Right. And she says that.
You're just the dead living, you know?
But then you have this boy who has this incredible character arc.
Incredible. She really brings him out of that.
Who is born into riches, right? He's born into luxury, and he's an only child, and he has a mother who's, yes, she doesn't pay attention to them, and that's horrible. Like, obviously he's going through stuff,
but she's not a monster.
He's not being abused. He has everything at his fingertips. He can go to the best school. He can study wherever. Like, he doesn't have to really work. Like, he's
want for nothing. All of his boxes are checked beyond.
And yet he looks at life as, I don't want to be here. I want to die.
Yeah, it's pointless. There's nothing to accomplish. I'm unfulfilled.
But yet, then these two people that meet at such different points in their life, like, recognize something in each other where they, like, fall in love. And she brings this out of him to love life. And it is just, I mean, to this day, like, I've seen this movie a million times and it never gets old, and I never not cry. And it's just like, what a fucking beautiful, like, story, you know? And it's so simple. Like, it's so simple. And he goes on to live his life. And at the end, when, you know, he decides to, after he turned his car into a hearse and he drives it off the cliff, and she has passed away. We've ruined this movie. Now people can't watch
I'll have to put a disclosure at the beginning.
You will have to. But, like, he drives it off the cliff, and he's not in there. He lets it go off, but that's him.
Well, they hint at Romeo and Juliet at one portion of the film.
Yes.
On his last date with a woman, and it feels like it's going to be that arc at the end for him, because he's not going to be able to survive.
Correct.
And then he moves on.
Right, and then that's what she did for him.
And that's when I started really crying, because I was like, wow, he really learned.
Because she really taught him. But, like, if that happened to his character at the beginning, he would have gone off with it. Right? But the fact that he let it go.
He would have never met her, probably.
And he crashed. He crashed his car and said goodbye to that life, and he turns around and walks away and starts playing the banjo and realizes that, no, like, I have a life. I'm here, and it's okay to live it. Like, she gave him that permission, and it's like, but that editing at that,
you were so right.
Like,
I
you
wish
cut-
everybody could have seen, because it was like watching it. I mean, it was watching it for the first time really for myself, but it was like you knew all the points, but it was almost like you were witnessing everything for the first time yourself.
Yeah.
And when we got to the ending, she was like, no, the editing though, like actually pay attention, because she knows I'm ADHD.
Yeah.
You were like, no, but really pay attention to the editing. It's the best editing I've ever seen, and you were so right.
Right?
I
Like,
was floored as much as the car was into the ocean floor.
I am so happy that you love it as much as I do, because it is.
I couldn't be more passionate about this film.
Right?
People have to witness this.
This is like, I'm telling you, when anybody ever asks me, like, what is your favorite film? It is always, like, has always been, will always be Harold and Maude. And I look at you, you're
I
going to
can't
be
get
like
it together
this.
at all.
I
It
am-
just like it ruined me. It was just
But
so beautiful.
But in the best way. Like,
Oh
don't
yeah,
you,
I'm
like,
so happy.
like, she's a character that, like, I know this sounds crazy, but I look up to her and I'm like, my God, like, if I could be like her.
Yeah, even an ounce of her, and she's been through such disparities with which I hope no one ever will. Those atrocities are not something that we'll witness again in our lifetime, I hope. But like what she witnessed and everything is just so. She could have been so
monster.
negative. Yeah.
And she could have hated life. And
Not paid him the time of day. I mean, she did some things that were questionable, but because she didn't care. She's like, I've been through some terrible things. It's not justified for me to steal all these cars or like steal a cop's motorcycle, which go girl, we love it. But like, she's just an icon. She's doing her life to the fullest.
yes, and that's why I love the message. It's just like, live your life to the fullest.
When you watched it the first time, did you think she was going to die at the... I mean, I thought she'd die, but I didn't think it was like... Because she hints at it at the beginning, like, well, Saturday's
yeah,
it.
you heard that.
And I was like, okay, what does that mean? I thought she was terminally ill. I didn't think she was like, hey, you know what?
yeah.
It's like, it's an honorable death. I'm out of here. I'm Brexiting.
But did you hear?
That's not honorable, but yeah.
You heard that, but you missed a line that she said in the church at the beginning when she said at one of the funerals where she'd like just met him. She saw him for the second time, and she was like in the pews, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was sitting behind him. She was like, he's 80, and she goes, that's too long to live, or something like that.
85. He was 85, and
Yeah.
she was like, that's too long.
Yeah, and she goes, and I'll
Nothing
be
good
80
happens
next week.
past 80.
Yeah, so that's why. Like, so
No,
if
I
you
caught
heard
it.
that, okay.
But it didn't register with me because
Yeah.
she kept pointing at it. Like, listen, like, this is key. And I was like, whatever, like.
Because you don't want her to go.
I don't want her to go. And yeah, but
And you just didn't.
it was so important.
Right. Like, so at the end, when I saw it the first time, and I saw it back in my 20s, so my ex-husband actually showed me this film. And
Hey, there's a plus.
I know, right? He
From
showed
the
me-
relationship.
I know. If that's the only good thing I got out of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I eventually saw it, but yes, if that's the only good thing I got, then there we go. But
He couldn't give you the love that you got in the film, but you know what?
But you
the
know
film
what?
is eternal.
There we go. Last forever.
Yeah, H&M, baby. That's what it stands for. Harold and Maude. When you're buying that fast fashion, honey, it's Harold and Maude, baby.
I love you. But yeah, I honestly, like, my ex-husband was like, this is a dark comedy. So I knew that there was something heavy, and I don't think I was as perceptive as you back then as far as like catching each like moment that she said it. I think I caught one, and then I like registered it, and I was like, oh, okay. But I knew something was looming. I just didn't know
Right.
what. But yeah,
I think I was more perceptive because you were here, to be honest. If I had watched it alone, a lot of that would have passed by me.
maybe.
I don't know.
I tried not to like do that and let you just be, but there I was like, oh, you gotta listen
No,
to this, or
you didn't
gotta
ruin
do it.
anything. I just I knew how much you loved it, and the
Yeah.
weight was like important because it's a film you like, and I blasted it to smithereens last time you were in my house so disrespectfully.
No,
and I was
but
like, I've got to really pay attention and like it, and I just like,
I loved it. You came around and you were in it.
So I'm getting emotional mostly because she reminded me so much of my grandmother. So for me, it was emotional watching it because I was like, oh, this is joy. This is how she lived. Oh, I can't. I'm over the grief. I swear to God. My therapist is going to be like, bitch.
You are so cute right now. You are gonna be literally crying yourself
I
to
just
sleep.
like some of the wisdom and like the way she'd be like, just get up and dance. Like he was like, I just want to do a cartwheel right now, and she was like, why not? Why wouldn't you do that? And he was like, because I'll be embarrassed. My grandmother all the time would be like, get up, don't you want to just dance right now? Just dance. You know, I don't know if she did that with her kids, but she did that with all of us, and she really helped me bloom as a person. So it was hard to watch some of it.
Oh my God, I love that, babe.
I'm gonna edit that out. I swear.
No, don't edit it.
It just was so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. But like, to have a grandmother like Maude, that'd be
Oh God, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I don't really see her in a romantic way for myself, but their relationship was so organic, just
and
like that
taste-
wine they kept drinking.
It's okay. It's organic.
Yeah, every time he was like, I don't drink. She was like, it's okay, it's organic.
I know.
I just thought that was
It
brilliant.
was so great, but no, it was so tastefully done, and like it wasn't creepy. Like
Nothing
you
was
want
creepy about it.
Nothing. It
Yeah.
was just.
I can imagine at the time period, you read the breakdown in a newspaper, and you're like, I don't really want to go see like this old woman fall in love with this younger guy or whatever, but you would be doing yourself such a disservice and missing it.
Yeah.
It's just so pure.
It's so pure, and the life lessons, and just it makes you love life. Like it's not sad. Like it's like happy tears were crying.
It is, yeah. Oh, 100%.
It's just like you're sad that she passed, and he's not.
Yeah, a
he
little
doesn't
bit of
have her.
angry tears too. I'm not gonna lie.
Right, but you're also like, God, what she did for him, and this love that I'm gonna start crying again.
Oh God, here we go. We're taking turns at least.
I know. Look at us. We are just fucking crying.
Wait, I
messes.
want to hear what you were gonna say.
So it reminds me. There's this friend of mine that I had in my life. This woman, Kelly, years ago. When I was shooting this movie, April Moon. Yes, you can all laugh. I played a blind girl.
Stop.
I swear to God, I'll have to show you one of these days. But I met this woman on set, and she was an extra, and she was so happy to be there. She was in her 50s, 60s, like, but she had the energy of Maude.
Oh.
She was.
that before you had ever seen the film?
No, I had seen Maude.
Oh,
I had seen
wow.
Harold and Maude. And so when I met Kelly, I was like instantly just this love for her. And
Yeah,
she
you
was,
were like pulled to her.
Yeah, she just had this energy, and everybody was pulled to her. And she was a bit absent-minded, professor-y, but
Love.
in the best way, right? She was like one of those where she like told me a story where she had her car for a very long time, and she went up to the gas station, and she didn't realize like where the gas pump was, like on her side, so she probably drove around it like 5 times.
Obsessed.
And people are like laughing, and this is her car. Like she's
like, how many times does she put gas in it?
She's like one of those people, but she was also really wise, right? And she was just a serious lover of life. And she had 2 older kids, Nicole and Ryan, who
Do you
didn't
still talk
live
to
there.
them?
I could talk to Nicole,
Okay.
and so Kelly and I grew really close, and she just became a really good friend of mine. She lived down in Temecula, so even after the movie, we stayed friends and whatever. And then when I was 26, so like 2006, I got a call from her husband that she had been in an accident.
Oh, no.
And she died.
Oh.
And I remember I was in Utah visiting a friend, and when I got the call, and I remember like coming back on the plane and like crying hysterically and having to go to the funeral, and I get a call from her brother, and her brother had asked me to speak because she loved me so much. And
What an honor, but how overwhelming.
yeah, and I remember like, okay, and I remember writing something, and her kids couldn't speak. It was like too hard because it was pretty traumatic how she had passed. And so I remember sitting there like having everything like ready to go, and my ex-husband was there at the time with me, and all of a sudden, before I was going to go out, maybe like 5 minutes before, you know, the brother was up there talking, and he he had mentioned my name and how much Kelly loved me when he was standing up there, like along with her daughter and her son, and I just busted out crying. And I'm sitting in the back, and I remember looking down, and I was like, I said to my husband, I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. And he was like, he just looked at me, and he was like, just do this for your friend. Like, go up there, and I'll go up there and stand with you. And so I go up there, and I look out, and I see her son and daughter and her husband, and it's just breaking my heart. And I give my speech, and I felt good. Like, I felt like I honored my friend, right? And, you know, people would come up to us, and people that knew her, and just, I'm so sorry, like, to all of us. And, you know, everybody was saying sorry and sorry and sorry. And I remember thinking, like, God, I miss my friend so much. Like, she was just such a light in my life, but she was only in my life for like a year and a half. What an impact she had in my life, and how honored I was and thankful to have her for even a short amount of time. And so when I watched this movie, even though like Maude left and was not in Harold's life for a short time, like the fact that he had her for even a short time was everything, right? And that's what I take with me now, and what I take from the movie. So as sad as it is, I look at it in a beautiful, positive way, just like I look at my friend who I love dearly and miss. But the fact that I could have her for that year and a half in my life was everything to me. And I'm forever grateful for that, you know? But it's like the same thing like this. So it's like happy tears.
Yes.
And not like, oh, you left, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Oh my God, we both had a Maude in our life. We're so blessed. We're so lucky. I feel like we have grown from, and you had said this off the recording time, felt like maybe you aligned with Harold at one point in your life, and you've kind of evolved more into the mindset of Maude.
Yeah.
And don't you feel like having someone like her in your life helped mold that?
Oh, for sure. And I think just like as you go through stuff in your life, and not that I came from a middle-class family. My parents were great. I had an amazing childhood. I didn't have the childhood of Harold, but, you know, when you just go through stuff that's harder, and I was alone when I came to LA for a long time, and, you know, just finding yourself and being in the entertainment business and finding who you are, and you just kind of, you don't know, and you feel alone, and you feel sad, and you feel lost. And that's where I relate to Harold in that way, not in the way of like wanting necessarily death,
not to end,
right, or like hating my mom,
but
and
the
that,
loneliness
like,
and the confusion portion.
It's just like that's, and I think it's safe to say that all of us have experienced that growing up.
Yes.
And I think it's just I love and that's why I'm saying the evolution of these characters are just so powerful, you know?
And they're timeless. I mean, there's something for everyone in this film.
I know. All of them are good. The mom was...
Oh, Lord. I loved that woman so much.
I feel like she's like a bit of you.
A little bit. I mean, I would never treat my child like she does with ignoring, but like her sort of flair for the dramatics is so...
Yes.
It's so there.
It's so there.
And her outfits are insane, and just...
Her accent, it's just...
her transatlantic accent. That's British. That is full-blown British. That is not what she did at all in one moment.
But it was so good. But yes, I'm so happy that we were able to watch this together.
Me too. I'm so thankful that you came over tonight. This is what I needed today.
Yay!
For sure. Everybody go watch the film. You can find it on Turner Classic Movie currently. It's streaming there, and I'm sure it'll be off by the time that you listen to this. So go find it yourself or rent it, okay?
All right, guys.
Much love, whether you're a Harold or a Maude or anywhere in between. Go and prosper. I gotta go cry. I don't know what to say anymore.
Oh my God, I love you.
This episode is obviously dedicated to Crash, and we mentioned my grandmother, so I'm going to dedicate it to Joyce as well.
I honestly like the beta test of this whole watch a movie and then discuss the discourse after. So next week we're having a really fun merger of episodes. It's going to be a crossover episode with The Horror and the Hesitant, a podcast that already exists. We're going to be watching a scary movie, something I picked. It's a little campy because I picked it. It's called Ginger Snaps. So watch that. That's your homework this week. You can catch it currently on the Peacock app, or you can rent it wherever. And then we'll discuss it next week for Halloween.
And especially, I want to thank the makers of this wonderful film, Harold and Maude. Everyone that was in charge of getting this picture made at Paramount from the ground up, you all just you're masters of your craft. You did a great job. You'll probably never hear this because you're like, bitch, we made this 40 years ago. Where were you then? Well, I think you got a lot of accolades, so I hope you're just feeling the flowers coming your way. Again, I'm sending them out to you. I'm sending you love. And of course, thank you to my wonderful friend Stephanie Reibel for being back a third time around. Hello. Gold medal. Gold medal, gold medal. Just great. Just iconic. And to you, listener, bye. See you next time. Or hear you next time. Nope. You'll hear me next time. Scratch that. Bye. Are you sick of me yet? Oh my God.
It's been sponsored by Kleenex.
Pass.